There are a lot of opinions about public education, how it prepares students for life, what they need to be learning, how AI fits into their future. But if we ask the students what they think and feel, what would they say? In this episode of Homeroom Huddle, we sit down with some of our student reps to the school board to get their insights on student life, their aspirations, and their concerns for the future. We'll get some perspective from their parents and explore how these student leaders are bridging an important gap between our schools and the school board. Joining me for this discussion are four of our student representatives to the school board: Laya Dilip from Liberty High School, Micah Payo from Gibson Eck High School, Ava Datta from Issaquah High School, and Nila Natarajan from Skyline High School.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so before we get to the main topic, let's talk about something all of you have in common, which is you're all student reps to the school board. Can you describe what that is for us, what it is you do? Laya?
Yeah, so a big part of our role is really talking to students in our schools, which means our classmates, our friends, and just general people in our school to get their voice, because a lot of the time at these big district events, we don't get to hear real student input and student voice. So that's a huge part of our role and kind of why we're there in all of the board meetings. We also go over our meeting agendas for every meeting to see, make sure that we're prepared, and then we come up with reports and really just talk to our student body to understand what they need.
I can also add on top of that as well.
Yeah, Micah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, also a really big thing is we are students. School board members aren't students, and they haven't been students for a very long time. So just having view of people inside of the school who are currently being affected by the different policies and just the stuff that they're doing is a really big deal and really helpful. And it feels really great to be able to talk to other students too and have them be like, hey, you're on the school board. Can you mention this? And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So yeah, that's kind of what we do.
And so are you gathering input and feedback from the students in your schools and then taking that to the school board, or are you just supposed to be passively observing? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do both of those. So one of them is just we hear some things that people say and maybe we'll bring it up during a meeting. But also sometimes we'll directly collect things. We have things called OE reports, which are operational expectations. And right now, actually, today I'm going to be reporting on OE 12, which is on learning environment. And we send out surveys, we go and ask students for input on certain things, and then we go to the school board and we give our report on top of the monitoring report that they already have, so they have a student's perspective about everything that's happening in the school. So it's not just adults on the sidelines.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for telling me a little bit about that. So why did you want to be a student rep? Why take on this sort of role? Nila?
Yeah, so what initially drew me to this role was actually being part of the BSU, Black Student Union, at my school, and just hearing a lot about the student experiences, and kind of a lot of the sentiment was that they weren't feeling like they were being heard. So when I saw there was an opportunity for a student bridge a little bit between the body and the school board, I wanted to take that opportunity to advocate for all different types of students and from my own perspective be able to shed more light on different types of students.
Yeah, so expanding the perspectives of people so it's not just one demographic group that's represented. That's cool. Anyone else want to comment on what drew them to this position? Ava?
I think within my first few years in high school, I heard a lot of complaints about the district. I heard a lot about the district is doing this and we don't like these policies, but there wasn't a whole lot of information about why they were doing it, where we could kind of contact, or a face-to-face interaction or a platform for that to happen. It felt more like a bit of an enigma. I mainly joined because I wanted to try and help bridge that gap. I thought it was a really cool opportunity, and I didn't even know that the district reached out to students in this way, or that we could involve ourselves in this way. So I think I just kind of wanted to, number one, help make sure that the student body around me was educated on the issues that we felt strongly about, but also that they had a platform and a way to make it not so much of an enigma and more of a person.
Okay, perfect. Laya, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, also I think those are great points. I think before this position, I didn't even know how the district operated. And I think as students, we often have so many complaints, this doesn't work, and why does this happen this way? So I think when I saw this opportunity, I really wanted to see how our district makes decisions and how that whole process occurs to hopefully, as was said previously, advocate for different communities and just create projects that really bring new perspectives perspectives into light and show more student voice.
And you mentioned you're learning a bit more about how the district works. So what are some of the things that maybe you observed or realized that you didn't know before you were a student rep? Nilla?
Just joining the first board meeting and like listening to all the board lingo and everything, I didn't realize actually how long a singular decision takes to make. It could take like months, a year, and it was kind of interesting and also like shocking to see that process, to like see what we want the school to be like, but then also the flip side, like how long that like those decisions take.
Something I noticed that was really big is how much a single meeting, like how much of an impact that has on like the school district and on people. But sometimes the leaders genuinely don't know why a problem is bothering people. And just a person saying like, hey, this is bothering me and this is why, that is able to change so much.
Got it.
Yeah, also I think like the amount of people that go into like each specific thing is so cool to me too, and like the conversations that we have after we see the work that people have done is I think really empowering. And also what's super cool is public comment. It's really cool that people have a place to put their voice into and the board can hear that and see what can be done about that. I think that's also a really cool part of the process.
Ava?
I think I learned about like not only the different levels of kind of authorization that these things go through, but also the amount of thought and the amount of conversation that goes into all of the decisions that are made. I think sometimes it can feel like, oh, these are careless or these are top down, but when you really like go into those rooms and sit there, I think I've learned that number one, the people at our district are genuinely trying to reach out to our community, and number two, we have like hours of discussion about everything from like a calendar and what day gets to be off of school to like the grading policies that affect us as students.
Yeah, thank you for those perspectives. You're observing like how this system works, seeing that there's a lot of intentionality going into it, that people are having these conversations to figure out how to make things work. It takes a long time to make a decision. There's a lot of structure to those meetings. So every day you and your classmates are getting closer to graduation, which might be both exciting and nerve-wracking. I don't know which it is for each of you. What are students thinking and feeling as they look ahead to life after high school? In what ways do you feel prepared, and are there areas where students might need more support? Nilla?
Yeah, definitely being a junior, there's a lot of pressure about just admissions to college in itself. That's a very like potent thing this year. And while a lot of students, even if they're not going to college, people are very anxious about the next steps in their life. And I kind of feel there's not enough support for students in figuring out the next steps. A lot of students kind of feel in the dark about that, which I could share in that feeling in some ways. So I think that's an area that could be improved.
And I'm curious, what would that support look like from your perspective?
Well, obviously our high schools have a lot of students in them, so maybe more accessible college counselor options, because I do know we do have college counselors at my school, but I think a lot of students hesitate to go to that resource because they feel like it's going to take a long time. They're not going to be able to get, that good of help because there's just so many students.
Sure. And what about the students that maybe aren't going to college? What would support look like for them, do you think?
I do feel that there's a sentiment with like people who don't want to go to college that the school isn't really providing that much for them as far as opportunities. So I think definitely just a bigger, wider range of opportunities for students who don't want to go to college and maybe don't want to focus on something STEM in the future and things like that.
Ava?
So I'm a senior right now, and it's really kind of coming up on us. I think that there's definitely a mix of emotions, both positive and negative. In the positive sense, I think that we as a district have done a great job of giving students choice in like their courses, in electives, AP classes, regular classes. So I feel like a lot of seniors are in good standing in terms of understanding what they're drawn to, even if they don't have like a specific career path in mind yet. And as a result, a lot of people are really interested to pursue like the passions that they found within ISD, which is a really positive thing. On the other hand, I also know that we have a very competitive culture at a lot of our schools. And so there's also that feeling of like, oh, this college decision is coming out, and if I get rejected or if I get deferred, I don't want people to find out, or I'm going to be embarrassed, or I'm going to be embarrassed about where I end up in general, whether that's college or a different career path. And so I think that within the student body, at least, we as seniors and as high schoolers oftentimes need to take a step back and assess the way that we maybe compare ourselves to others or the way that we value education. The value of education doesn't just come from a top school or a T20 or even getting a college degree. It can be earned in the workforce, in daily life, or in any educational institution.
Yeah, not everyone has the same path. I know there can be some stigmas about different career paths. Micah, do you have any thoughts about what students are talking about and maybe some supports they might need?
Yeah, I kind of want to add on top of that about how a lot of schools, they don't have a way for students to figure out how to get directly into their careers. But one thing that is different about some schools, for instance, my school, I go to Gibson Neck High School, where we have internships on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we have projects on the rest of the school days and also on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. But the whole point of that is that we're learning directly about how we're going to apply these skills and also finding inspiration for what we want to do and finding the confidence to actually go out and do it. Because when you're reaching out for internships, you're doing professional communication with adults as a child and you're just working as an adult. Mm-hmm. And just having that extra confidence from how we do our learning just gives that people that extra drive in figuring out what they're going to do after school. And then there's also other programs like WANIC. I have a friend who's doing nursing and she's learning so much. She's getting certifications and everything from it. Like right now, when she graduates high school, she could go and work as a nurse just from the education she's gotten here in high school. So I feel like there's many things that people think about when graduation's coming. Not only what am I going to do when I'm at college, it's also like, what am I going to do after college? Like, what is this actually, is this education going to do for my future?
I have a Gibson Eck intern working with me right now. So that's been eye-opening and interesting to be helping them figure out how to develop their skills and exploring what they want to learn more about. But yeah, they get a lot of hands-on experience in real world situations where we just have to roll with some things that go beyond the academic. Like, well, ideally we would be doing it this way, but we have limited resources. We just got to roll with the time we've got and so on. Leah, did you want to add something?
I think it's really important that schools give us help in finding what we're passionate about and what we might want to do, but also to make sure that we know that we're able to change our path and it's not set in stone right now, and that if we do change our path at some point down the line, then that's okay. So I think it's extremely important that schools help students in that way to understand what they're passionate about right now, but also the fact that that might change and that they should be open to that as well.
Yeah, my kids are actually just out of high school and they're trying to figure it out right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's okay that you don't know, because even if you choose a career in 10 years, you might decide, I'm ready for a change. I want to do something different. And so figuring out how you can learn the skills you need that help you make those transitions as well. So it's not just about, oh, I'm going to learn how to be a nurse or be a computer programmer. You're actually learning some of those durable skills and things that you can take from job to job, whatever that might look like for you. So speaking of skills that you might need, there's been a lot of talk lately about AI and how that fits into people's future. Do students talk about it as being helpful, harmful, or a bit of both? What are your reflections on that? Nilla?
Definitely a mix of both. I think while there's like a lot of talk about, oh, students used AI to cheat on this, or people being mad because, oh, this person used AI on this, I think a lot of students also rely on it for like studying, and it's a good resource if, you know, your teacher isn't able to provide as many resources as you want for like, I don't know, reviewing and things like that. And I think it can be a really useful tool in that aspect. And I think when teachers shut it out, it also kind of creates this inability for students to utilize that, and also a different way for students to sidestep their learning a little bit with it because they don't know how to use it properly.
Sure. Micah?
So in my school, there's been many different conversations that there were with AI. People had a lot of fear with it. How is this going to take everyone's jobs away? And what I've been hearing that change into is, how can we use AI in a way that's going to make us become better as people and figure out ways to make it more productive instead of causing more harm? One of the analogies my advisor used was the creation of the car. People would put wooden horse heads in front of it because they wanted it to look like a horse, because they were not accepting the switch from carriages to cars. And in our school, we've been kind of using that idea, like as us as students, how can we accept this and find ways to make it better? And a lot of people have used it in different ways, like, can I use this for feedback? Because sometimes like you don't have an expert right there who can tell you like, hey, you spelled this wrong, or hey, this is a better way you can do grammar for this certain thing. So people use it a lot of times in writing for feedback, and that's really helpful. So I feel like there's a lot of positives and negatives that people talk about with AI.
Yeah, I have a thought on that, but Laia she is looking at me and I want to hear what she has to say.
I think, I just wanted to quickly add on. I definitely agree with what was already said, like completely. I think also what's so important for me though is that I know that AI is very crucial to so many workplaces now. In my life, both my parents and my brother are all in corporate jobs, and they use Copilot so much. It's part of their work. It's what they have to use. So I think if teachers shut out AI and give students a bad perspective on it, then that makes them less prepared for their future careers, and then they don't know how to use AI, which again is not good for them. So I think it can be a great tool if teachers are properly trained on it by the district maybe, and then students can then learn from that as well.
Well, and it is a tool at the end of the day. And if you don't know how to use it, how can you use it properly? So yeah, I hear your point that if teachers don't give you opportunities to learn how to use it. So maybe some were using it to cheat, like, oh, write this paper for me. But if you can learn how to use it to help you review your paper, so you are writing it, but you're using it as an editor to give you feedback, that makes it a powerful tool to help you when an adult can't.
Yeah, I do think that students are definitely using AI in like pretty much any opportunity they have to. But I think sometimes we assume that that is always to like cheat on an assignment. I do think that a lot of the positive uses of AI as a result get shunned. So I know a lot of students who will use AI as a study tool, as a way to help revise information, synthesize notes, or even you can ask AI to quiz you, or you can give it like sample questions that you've gotten and ask it to generate more if you've run out. There's so many uses like that I think tend to get stigmatized just because there are students who are also using it dishonestly. I know that there are people saying that, oh, we need to start making all of our essays in person or in class, or we can't have like outside of school projects anymore because there is always a risk of AI being used. I think that when it comes to writing, there are so many ideas that a student has that AI might be able to, at least currently, write cohesively, but not articulate authentically. And so I think that instead of focusing on how can I make sure my student isn't using AI based off of like external factors like harsher regulations, there also needs to be a bit of like an intrinsic understanding of the limitations of AI, in that no matter how far it progresses, it is never going to be able to articulate your ideas in the same way that you can. I would also add that I think that we need to adapt to AI rather than kind of shunning it out in terms of the way we structure classes. I think that having an understanding of how was AI trained, what biases might it have, and what are productive and constructive ways to use it as something to benefit you rather than replace you, are all like challenges that we're going to face that we need to learn to adapt to and understand, not only in the workforce, but in the world as a whole going forward.
Thank you for those comments. I actually work in a communications department and use AI quite a bit in my job, but I had to figure out where are the places I want to use it and where do I not want to use it. So for example, I realized I do not want to give AI anything that I want to be good at personally. So I'm not going to have AI write for me because I want to be good at writing. But I am going to use it to help me research things, to gather some details together so I can see them in one spot very quickly, or to run through something I've written and have it point out areas where maybe it would be hard to understand if I had a 6th grade reading level, something like that. It could be very useful for, but it just takes some practice and mindfulness about how you're using it. So it's not inherently good or bad is what I'm hearing from the table. Do you agree with that?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before this discussion, I asked a few of you to go out and talk with an adult in your life, comparing your experience in high school with theirs. Let's listen to those comments and then talk about it as a group.
What were your biggest hopes and fears while attending high school and preparing for graduation?
For me, life after high school really was to get into college, get into a medical school. I had projected time for myself to finish, graduate, and help my parents. So yeah, one of my goals was to be able to help my family financially and make their world better and the world of people around me better. I wanted to leave a positive impact in the world.
What were you really trying to learn or prepare for as you thought about life after high school?
Literally, I wish I had learned financial literacy early on in life. I'm still continuing to learn, but that's what I wish that you guys, my children, have, the financial literacy. It makes a big impact in your life. Having a mentor, somebody that has been there, that will help me navigate the world I'm looking at, where I'm trying to get, and being able to communicate. Those things, if you can learn a good communication skill, learn financial literacy, and have a mentor. Also being resilient and adaptable, learning how to be adaptable, learning how to bounce back from setbacks, because not every goal that we set that we meet, right? Learn from your mistakes. That makes us a better human, makes us better, well-rounded humans, period. Critical thinking skills are also important skills to learn, and not everybody has that, but it sets you apart from the next smart, quote-unquote, smart person.
Looking back, what skills or knowledge proved to be the most useful for you? How do you think the experiences of today's students are similar and different from your own?
So similarities, striving for independency and striving to identify or belong in a dynamic society. Those are the similarities that I think of. Differences, though, is that these days there's a lot of information overload, and there's lack of human touch, regular human everyday touch. So people these days lack that social communication. They don't know how to be friends. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to problem solve. There's overload of information, and the rapid growth of technology is also a big difference, and that's part of the impact or the reasons why there's this disconnect or divide. So we have to figure out a way to bridge that gap where humans can remain humans.
Hi, I'm with my mom today, Vidya Vardarajan. So the first question is, what were your biggest hopes and fears while attending high school and preparing for graduation?
So I did not go to school here in the United States. When I was in my high school and preparing for my next step, which is college admissions, the biggest fear was to get a good grade coming out of my senior year, because the grade matters. And getting a good grade means I can actually get into a program of my preference and probably a good college as well. I believe there was fear through the process. So that did impact it. So that's what I did. I just studied hard and stressful, fearful, but I made it through and I was able to get into a decent college.
What were you really trying to learn or prepare for as you thought about life after high school?
We weren't focused on career as we were moving from school to college. But at the end of the college, though, things got really serious because we were thinking, what next? There was a lot of companies who came in campus to conduct interviews. So eager to participate and probably get a job. Even then, I don't think I was as serious because I came from even though it was a middle class family, we did not have financial challenges. So I think it was all about, enjoying and fun for me.
The next question, the last question is, looking back, what skills or knowledge proved to be the most useful for you, and how do you think that the experiences of today's students are similar and different from your own?
So I think the most important skill for me is the way I express my opinion. That is, I like to talk, and even in a very formal setup like a debate, that was, I think, my key skill, which I carry till today, which I feel is a positive for me till today. So that was what got me into my first job as well, because in the interview I was very confident. I was able to articulate what I thought well, what I think would help also for kids to, when they're preparing for a career, being a little more organized, which I was not, and also a little bit of fun packed into it actually connects with people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hi, this is Ava, and I'm here with my mom. So my first question is, what were your biggest hopes and fears while attending high school and preparing for graduation?
Hi. So I grew up in India, and we used to have board exams, which was like standardized tests like SAT. So I wanted to do well, get good grades, and go to a good college. I wanted to have a good career, so like any other student.
Okay. Thank you. My next question is, what were you really trying to learn or prepare for as you thought about what your life would look like after high school?
So, not a huge dreamer, not a very big dreamer, but I was preparing for an independent life, having a stable career. I would have liked to do more, like be more focused or disciplined, but I was kind of confident to handle the transition in life. So, yeah, went quite okay.
And then lastly, looking back, what skills or knowledge proved to be the most useful to you? How do you think the experiences of today's students are similar and different from your own?
So, in the life skills, there are many, but most importantly, I think communication skills, learning to adapt to ever-changing situations are the two main I would bring forward because they help me both professionally and personally. Comparing myself or our lives to the students of today, although it's a different country, different time, total different era, but the academic pressure is kind of similar, but more because there is also a pressure of standing out along with the competition we used to have. The world today is more, technology oriented. So there are more distractions and there are more opportunities for children as well at the same time. So it's very difficult to stay focused, finding the right direction and stay patient and confident. So the basic challenges are the same, but students today have to, I think, juggle with more compared to what we did. Thank you, Ava, for your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so any reactions to what you heard? Things that you agree with, things that are very different about life for parents or grandparents versus your experience? Nilla?
Well, technology was like a theme throughout all of them when talking about differences for students today. And I think that along with technology being different from when they were in high school, it's also changing very rapidly for us. So even we don't really know what to make of it all the time, which I think is kind of an interesting thing to try and deal with.
Yeah. Laya?
Also, I think a common theme was that students nowadays have so much more pressure and competition than what our parents had. And I think that really shapes our experience and it makes it so much harder for us when we're graduating and going to college. Also, another thing that I think heard a lot was communication and how that's even more important today in our ever-changing world and those like real-world skills that we need to build that maybe didn't really exist as much back then for our parents.
Got it. Ava?
The one thing I would add kind of as an intersection between rapidly evolving technology and consistently more academically competitive landscape is the fact that pressure has shifted from being just focused on grades to now in our emphasis on making sure that the whole student or the whole child is exceptional. It has shifted to be sports, extracurriculars, grades, jobs, internship experience, all of that. And there's this really heavy narrative now that, especially if college is the life after high school path that you're pursuing, that just your grades aren't enough. And as a result of that, technology that everyone is leveraging and everyone is improving with, that kind of transitions to becoming nothing is ever enough. Am I ever enough? Like, everyone is trying to start projects and go beyond what they think is expected of them. And I think part of the issue is what is expected of us is constantly changing because our resources are constantly changing and they're constantly improving, which not only makes it difficult to forecast in a landscape of education, but also career paths.
Laya?
Yeah, just one quick thing also, I completely agree. I just wanted to add also, I think when our parents were going through school, it was a lot more about memorizing the content and just kind of going through the textbook and reading it and seeing what you learn from that. But I think now it's more about what you can do with the information that you have rather than just knowing the information, which I think it's important to note that that can be difficult for some students, and that's been changing. So.
Something I heard was not so much the academics, although it was certainly there, but also those life skills, those durable skills we keep talking about, like being able to communicate, being able to negotiate and express what you want or need, being able to have financial literacy and be able to take care of yourself and be independent in ways that go beyond just the book smarts. So, okay. Life at school can be good, but also challenging. It sounds like a lot of the demands to be a critical thinker can lead to, I imagine, a lot of anxiety as well, because you feel like you have to be so many things all at once. How are students balancing their learning and activities with their own sense of well-being? What supports do you find or hear are most helpful for students? Micah?
So sometimes a lot of students are very hyper-focused specifically on their schoolwork, and they'll do nothing but their schoolwork. And what I notice with a lot of those students is they end up getting super depressed, or they end up just like getting too locked in on their schoolwork. And what I've noticed like is a healthy balance that people try to make with how can I get myself the most challenging academic stuff I can do, but also have stuff on the side. One of the things I do the most is I try to hang out with my friends as much as I can and just like do some fun small stuff like movie nights or going to like live music and just like fun things like that. Everywhere you go to, there's going to be people, and you can connect with people in different ways. And I feel like for especially extroverts, those are really good ways to try to recharge and bring some sense of well-being. But also like for introverts, there's also a lot of times like you need to have time at home. You need to spend some time where you're completely by yourself, maybe climb a mountain, maybe just sit on my couch. And I feel like I've had both of those different sides of things where like sometimes I'm feeling more extroverted, sometimes I'm feeling more introverted. What do I need to do to recharge my own battery and make sure that the next day I have adequate sleep and can get my stuff done? Because sometimes I need to sacrifice sleep. Sometimes I need to have more sleep.
Yeah. Nilla?
I think a lot of students actually don't balance their learning with their activities and self-well-being and stuff, but I think a really good thing to try and remember while struggling to do all these kinds of things and then also trying to balance is just trying to be yourself outside of school and find yourself outside of what your schoolwork is, because I think a lot of people define themselves on one certain thing, one certain extracurricular, their grades, whatever pressures. Just try, especially in high school as we're getting older and going into life, like that's a really grounding thing for me, and I think it could be helpful for other students.
Yeah, I feel like that's also something really important for people to do, which is just figuring out that school does not define you as a person. Yeah. Whatever your grades are does not define you as a person.
Ava?
I would just say that your schoolwork and your activities don't have to be a drag on you if you're catering them to what your strengths and what your passions are. I think a lot of the time there's a sense of obligation in that, well, I'm not really a math person, but I need to be in like AP Calc BC by the time I'm a sophomore because that's what's going to set me up. Or on the other hand, everyone in my family plays a sport. I need to play a sport. I need to be going to practice 5 times a week for 3 hours a day, even though I may not enjoy this thing. I think that those things are the things that strain us, strain our enjoyment, and honestly, like mental health the most. So take a step, understand what you enjoy and what you want to pursue, because if you have a workload but you are enjoying what you're pursuing, it's going to be work. You're going to have busy days, but it's not going to be as straining as if you're just doing things based off of external obligation, which I know is easier said than done, but I do think it's really helpful.
Yeah, I really agree with choosing extracurriculars that you actually have passion for and enjoy. Also, just a quick thing that I wanted to say is for adults and teachers and mentors, please give grace to students because we're balancing so much and it's so hard for us on a daily basis. So please give grace to us. Give us support, check in with your students, see how they're doing. If you can, try to go beyond just what you're teaching them on a daily basis and really see how they're doing because that really helps a lot, I think.
Yeah, teachers who extend deadlines have a special place in heaven for them specifically.
Yes.
What could schools maybe be focusing on to help you feel like you're actually getting prepared for life after high school? Like, do you have any thoughts on where you would put that energy? Micah?
One thing specifically, like thinking motivation at first, is like having a way to give students purpose and finding ways that not only do they have purpose in the classroom right there where they're sitting there and they're told like, hey, do this, you're going to have a cookie, but like find ways that they are doing something that they feel passionate about and they want to continue this in their future. I feel like one way that could happen is by answering those small questions that they have and not being sarcastic about it. I want an answer like, what am I going to be using this graph for in the future? And then like, if I get an actual answer, oh, that's actually really cool. I want to be able to do that in the future. And I feel like, I don't know, just finding different ways to make students know that all of this actually matters will make students not only prepare better for their future, but also perform a lot better in school.
Yeah, making it relevant to something in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Nilla?
I would say for any adult, like teacher or parents, is just like enabling students to be able to discover and kind of explore what they want to do and like how they can get there, because I think a lot of times like they kind of just choose something or something's placed upon them, something's expected. But I think now it should be like normalized, and adults should give opportunities for students to be able to like discover what they want to do with the world around them.
Okay, so giving them some space where they can actually have some reflection, figure out like what they're trying to do to make the education more relevant to what they're trying to pursue on their own.
Yeah, not just the space, but also like the resources and kind of like encouragement to do so, because I think a lot of students feel stuck where they are with choosing a certain life path they think they want to go down.
Okay, got it. Laya, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think with the district specifically, we talked a lot about those real world skills that we need. So I think having more opportunities for students to take advantage of that. And also, I think a lot of those things like financial and communication skills should be required by our districts. We have all of our high schools, I think, have like an advisory period where all students are required to be there. So I think more intentional use of that time to ensure that students are getting the most out of what our schools have to offer and learning real world skills that no matter what you're doing, you can transfer into that is so important, I think.
Okay. Awa, do you have any final thoughts for us?
I would just really emphasize connecting what we're learning in the classroom and what we're doing on a daily basis to something that is purposeful to the students and something that connects with the way that they identify. I understand that some of the things that we're learning, like if I'm sitting in, I don't know, like a calc class or a chemistry class, it might not directly translate to certain future career paths or life after high school, but I have a teacher that talks about this a lot. Like, maybe I'm never going to use like this integral ever again, but I'm going to use the skills that I built when I was sitting down and learning it. And I think that having an understanding of the value of the process and intrinsic motivation to engage in the process is really important.
Well, this has been a really great discussion. I've loved all these different perspectives on how to balance the needs of academics with your own well-being, looking at AI, and also what it means to be a student rep. Before I let you go, though, we need to have a quiz.
I want green if
this
this green.
is fun. Okay.
Okay, Huddle, we've represented the realities of student life in our schools. It's now time to evaluate your awareness of district events and our 3-year strategic plan with a real-world quiz we're calling Student Rep Roundup. Here's how it works. I will present the Huddle with 5 scenarios ripped from our district's news page. If you know the priority area for the scenario, please politely pound your bell to answer. The student who successfully answers the most questions will walk away with this deceptively desirable and life-affirming Gold Star sticker, perfect for any high school and beyond plan. Are you ready to represent?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Heck yeah.
Let's begin. All right, number 1. In a recent Homeroom Huddle podcast, the district discussed fueling success by providing nutritious, accessible school meals to ensure every student is ready to learn. Nilla.
Is it student well-being?
It is student well-being. Very good. Number 2, at a June meeting, the school board officially approved and welcomed incoming student representatives. Oh my gosh. Giving students a direct voice in district governance and decision-making. Micah.
Diverse talent.
Okay, that is not what I wrote down, but give me an explanation.
When I was talking about new student voice, I was thinking diverse talent. That's my description.
How does having swearing in student reps bring diverse talent?
Oh, authentic engagement.
Okay, but who else rang? Who else rang?
We are the diverse talent.
Laya.
I was going to go with authentic engagement.
Okay, I am going to give the point to Laya.
Give me a star.
That one's tricky. So I could argue giving both of you a point. I am going to give you half a point, Micah, and then we will figure that out.
I can take half a point. That's like 2 of those. That's like 1 point.
Whoa.
Plus 3. That's like 3 points, guys.
Okay, so Laya gets the point for that one. Number 3. The district earned a $46,596, because that $6 is important, incentive from Puget Sound Energy for installing energy-efficient systems at Pine Lake Middle School. Wow. Demonstrating responsible management of resources to save money for classrooms. I think it was Micah.
Organizational effectiveness.
It is organizational effectiveness. Very
now
good.
I have a 1.5 points, guys. I'm so happy right now.
Number 4. During the June 26th meeting, the school board officially welcomed new administrators to the district, marking a key step in building a leadership team that supports the student population. Oh man, I didn't even catch who did that. Who was that? Who felt like they were
I feel
first?
like I was first, but also I don't want to be the one saying that I was first, so I'm going to say it was Nilla.
Yeah.
Really?
Nilla, what is it?
Is it organizational effectiveness? Wait.
Tell me why you think that might be the case.
Because maintaining the school board systems is good organization.
Okay, anyone else have any thoughts on that one?
Oh, I'm just delayed.
Micah.
I don't have any thoughts, but authentic engagement.
Okay. I'm actually interested that no one said what I wrote down, but I wrote diverse talent, but maybe that was off base. So, Nilla, I'm going to give you the point.
I was going to say diverse talent. That's okay. But I actually agree with authentic engagement.
Okay. Tell me why.
I will, yeah.
I would say that, first of all, diverse talent is specific to students benefiting from the way that we recruit and train staff. But authentic engagement talks more about our connections to the community and students benefiting from that. And since we're talking about school board members, I think that serves more as a bridge to the community than directly trained staff.
Okay, I'm going to give you a bonus point for that very thorough
Do I get
bit
a
of
point?
rhetoric.
Do I get a half point? Juggernaut.
Okay, so looking at the scores, Nilla is the winner with 2 points. So congratulations, Nilla.
Wow, I'm so happy.
Wow, you don't sound very happy, everyone. Congratulations, Nilla. Well, thank you all for being part of this discussion today. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. We loved
really
it too.
enjoyed it too.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining our huddle today. If you enjoyed the discussion, please subscribe so you never miss an episode. We really want to talk about things you find interesting. So, if you have an idea, head over to isd411.org/podcast and share it with us. Thanks for listening.